Let me also welcome a very senior IAS officer and a very known face to the IT ecosystem in India and world over. We welcome Sri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Electronics and Information Technology Department, Government of Telangana. We welcome Sri Jayesh Ranjan. Thank you so much for joining us in the inaugural. Uh, my question to Jayesh Ranjan will be that the name of this event is Securing India on Cloud Summit. Perhaps one of the very few events globally also where we discuss two aspects of technology. One is cloud computing, and another is security. That can be critical infrastructure security or cyber security. Your thoughts on securing India's critical infrastructure, building future foundation of India on cloud, and what kind of initiatives being taken in the Telangana government when you talk about using leveraging cloud for governance? Your thoughts on that?
Uh, Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Goswami. Greetings to fellow panelists. Greetings to all the attendees. First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers for putting together this webinar on a very important theme of how cloud adoption contributes to different ways of bringing in efficiency in our IT operations. Of course, a very important component is about security as well. I would like to share very briefly what has been the Telangana government's cloud mandate. We are one of the few states which has developed its own cloud framework, and we have rolled it out across all the departments in the government. So I would like to speak a little bit about the journey of our cloud adoption program. So, of course, as other speakers have also pointed out, it all started with the Meghraj policy, which was announced by Government of India way back in 2016, in which they have empaneled a certain number of cloud providers, cloud service providers. And I guess there are about close to a dozen service providers who have been empaneled. But what we have felt is that we should also see what are the realities at the ground. I mean, while it is very good to have a national framework, etc., but how much of that gets translated into action at the state level? And then within the state also, there are various departments, there are various users. There are some users who have very high IT load. Some of them have moderate IT load, etc. Then, of course, there are some users whose security concerns, privacy concerns, etc., are of the highest order. So, uh, the cloud framework that we have prepared in Telangana basically takes into cognizance what is the ground reality which that particular department faces, and how do you help that particular department to actually adopt cloud. And we have taken cognizance of the fact that departments have different levels of expertise. Their familiarity with security is also varying. Plus, there is an issue of budgets. So, different departments have different allotments of budgets for their IT hardware. So, we have done a very detailed exercise to understand what are your current hardware systems, what are the legacy challenges. We know for sure that there are many hardware providers where the phrase that we hear quite often, vendor lock-in, like if you commit yourself to one particular model of hardware, then you just cannot make it interoperable. You cannot transition into something else. And every time that version is upgraded, you are kind of locked in. So many government departments face that challenge also. So how do you rethink their general requirements? And of course, as I mentioned, the key aspect of network and security requirements also needs to be understood very clearly and explained that. Similarly, there are certain departments who also have business continuity or DR requirements, disaster recovery requirements. So what we have done is that we have looked at, as I said, the IT load of different departments, their network security requirements, their DR requirements, the availability of budget, the capability of the department to handle hardware, plus legacy issues if at all faced by that particular department. And we have created some kind of a matrix. So, for example, if you are one department which handles huge amounts of data, your databases run into millions. Most of it is of a very sensitive kind. It is a critical kind. And let us say you have certain legacy challenges, etc. So, in the cloud adoption framework of ours, what is the optimum solution for you? How much of that should be stored in our state data center on premise? How much of it can be moved into cloud? And of course, there are cloud service providers where Government of India, under the Meghraj policy, has given freedom to select. But Telangana government, as some of you may be aware, we have been hosting some very mega scale data centers in our state of private cloud players also. Some of you might have come across this news that AWS, for example, is making a $2.7 billion of investment in Telangana. Similarly, other players like Microsoft, etc., are also investing big time in the state of Telangana. So one of the commitments that we make to these players is that part of the business of cloud will be given to them. So how do we also keep up to that commitment? While there is a flexibility given under the Meghraj policy to choose whichever service provider you are comfortable with, and of course you follow either L1 or QCBS or a total cost of ownership model. But given the fact that we have some extra responsibilities for those cloud service providers who are also making investment in our state also has a local procurement policy. If someone has invested in your state, then you have to give preference to them in your procurement. So, as I said, there are multiple factors involved, and the cloud adoption policy is something which has taken cognizance of all these realities. And I can also share this that the cloud adoption policy was introduced roughly around 2 years ago, and if you look at the experiences of these 2 years, these are that is very encouraging. In fact, we ourselves, when we had tried to introduce this framework, were not sure about the kind of response it will get. But I feel very happy to share that. But and also because of the methodical way in which we have proceeded, we have conducted sensitization programs for all the government agencies, the people who handle their hardware. Sometimes they have vendors, so also had sensitization programs for their vendors, etc. So given all the homework that we have done, I feel very happy that we have progressed quite far. Some of the most big the large users, so to say, the large government departments, and I can give you one example. See, this is also a very timely example because the national government have introduced the National Digital Health Mission. It was rolled out by the Honorable Prime Minister about a week ago. But in Telangana, we are having an insurance program called Arogyashri for almost a decade now. In fact, it was a part of the combined state of Andhra Pradesh, and subsequently, the state of Telangana has also adopted uh, the health insurance program called Arogyashri. So, as you would imagine, there are millions of users who have been covered under Arogyashri, and of course, their databases are available with the health department. But as we all understand, it's all very sensitive data because, first of all, it is very personalized, very individualized, and also the database captures what kind of ailment you suffered from, what kind of treatment you sought, and therefore what kind of payments were charged on you, and how much of it was cleared by the government as its insurance policy. So it's a very confidential data, but in many ways, a data which is also prone to lots of misuse, etc. So that particular department, the Arogyashri department, was one of the first one to make use of our cloud adoption policy, and they were one of the first one to transition into a private cloud. But because of the sensitivity, etc. So the advantage of cloud is that you can demand the levels of security that you require, and it can all be customized based on the needs of the user. So because of the sensitivity involved, many layers of security, including access, etc., were provided for. But there are many other departments whose requirements of security and the the nature of organizing that data is not very kind of exhaustive, and therefore you can put them in some kind of a hybrid crowd, or in a manner in which, while basic security is taken care of, it does not really put a very heavy demand on your budget. I also mentioned that we were very realistic in understanding the budget availability for different kinds of hardware. And as I mentioned, we were also very kind of skilled and adept in handling all the legacy hardware issues. So uh, I can elaborate much more also on the cloud adoption framework, but what I can share is that it is available on our website of www.it.telangana.gov.in. So I'll encourage the participants to read, look it up, and as I said, no policy is cast in stone. We are always open and flexible to listen to better examples, good practices, and I'm delighted that so many distinguished panelists who are actually practitioners of cloud and security, etc., are sharing their experiences. I'm very keenly listening to them as well. And obviously, if there is anything which is worth improving upon our cloud adoption framework, we'll always be willing to do that. So once again, I thank the organizers, thank APAC for giving me this opportunity. Good wishes for the successful conduct of rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Electronics and IT, Government of Telangana. As we all know, that Telangana is one of the leaders when it comes to IT adoption, and as you have said that it's also a leader when it comes to cloud adoption. You said that you have looked at IT loads and legacy issues and security issues of hardware for various departments to for your cloud adoption, and how we have tried to manage and tackle the need of each and every department for cloud adoption. And also, as you have said, that Telangana government is hosting one of the major mega data centers, private data centers, and uh, you talked about the Arogyo Sri app as well.